Rule number one: desperate people do desperate things. And so, unfortunately, you have some females who are desperate for a relationship. And there are some that really want to be involved with someone. And there's nothing wrong with that, depending on what the reasons are for. And if it really is for love and affection and to have a family, maybe you don't have any children and you want to start a family, I don't see anything wrong with that at all. But there are women who maybe they already have kids, or they just are really like loose, and it's not really for marriage or anything like that. It's just for attention, and they just want somebody around. So you have some women who are desperate and they'll do desperate things to get a mate, even if it's not a good mate. And you'll have a lot of people who will go to clubs, they'll hang out with other girlfriends, maybe go online and choose a partner or someone that they can meet up with. Never allow yourself to be so desperate that you end up settling for far less than what you deserve. And some people do that. They'll put, bad men before their children. They won't take care of their children. Their children will be taken away from them and put in a foster home because they spend more time catering to the male, and he may not be in the best interest in terms of being a father figure or a potential father figure. Maybe he doesn't even care about the kids. His thing is putting a woman on the street and having her prostituting. Sometimes you'll have women that'll go to church and they'll pray for a mate. You have a lot of churches, black churches especially, will promote that whole ideology that you need a virtuous woman, and they'll throw scriptures at you and they'll tell you how to dress and how to look. And sometimes church can be like a fancy way of going to a club, a nightclub, only it's not at night. It's in church, and people mask who their real identity is. See, some of these black women are still single because they're going to church praying for men, and then sometimes some of those men in church are at places like this at night, and they're bopping around with different women. And then you do have clubs, nightclubs, where women will go out and they say, oh, I just like the music, I want to have a little fun, I like the atmosphere, and possibly they're looking for a mate. And sometimes there are women that are honest. They'll say, they didn't really want anything serious. And so maybe they're looking for, a one night stand or something like that. But this is more like about women who are just plain out desperate. Most females are so desperate for love, they will settle for any guy that shows them an ounce of attention. Know your worth. And that is so true, because I know of people who, in back in the days, in my 20s, I had a group of friends, and as young women, a lot of times when you're in your 20s, and guys like to go out to parties. And so you go to clubs, and a lot of times when you're young, you don't know a lot, you don't have a lot of experience or life experiences. You go out with a group of friends, you just want to have fun, and it may be something casual. But when you're young and you're not really thinking about, old age and settling down and death and none of that stuff and retirement, you're not even in the realm of that. You're wanting to have fun. So a lot of times women get taken advantage of. And if you're a young woman, to guys, they see you as silly and giddy, and you're not really to them worth respecting. And there are some guys that are like that. Maybe they're young in the head and they haven't had a lot of life experiences, or maybe they've heard some things from older guys and it wasn't good advice. So girls want attention, women want respect. So a lot of times when you go to these clubs, women will let their hair down, they dress scantily clad, they are more vulnerable because they'll drink, and when they're you know, involved in drinking and drugs or anything like that, they're more vulnerable because their inhibitions are down. They're, open wide. They may be easier to get in the bed with, and a lot of guys like that, especially if they're like predators, and they'll sleep with you. And then you have an older crowd of women who maybe they have lived life. They've been married, divorced. Maybe their kids have grown up and left the house, and they say that women get to a certain point in their life where they want affection, and they might be more sexual. So you have this thing called cougars. So you'll have older women. You wouldn't believe they'll go to like nightclubs. Some of them will go to strip clubs to see men dance in the nude. And you have some women that are like that. I don't necessarily say that these women are bad women, but if it's all in fun, because I know guys will do things all in fun, but there's no ill will intentions in it. But you do have people who they do have bad intentions, and they're promiscuous, and they're not careful about what they do, and their whole thing is just to sleep around with different people, and they're not careful about what they do, and they're pretty outgoing in a negative sense, where they're loose and they don't have any discrepancies, and there's the threat of diseases, heartbreak. You don't know if the person is married. Some people, maybe they know that they're married. They just want to be out there and be loose, and some people are like that. So you'll have people that are involved in group sex. They're involved in, like meeting and having these one night stands that turn into like short flings, and then the bad part is that some women expect the guy to commit. And his whole intention was not to commit. It was just to have like maybe wild sex, or maybe he's not really interested in having a long-term relationship. He might be married. He might have a girlfriend. Some signs of this is he doesn't want you to call his home number. He only has like a cell phone number, or he has more than one cell phone. So he doesn't want the wife and girlfriend to have possession of those phones. And he doesn't want you to call him. He doesn't want you to get to get his number. He wants your phone number, and he'll call you from like a pay phone, or he'll call you, and if they don't have pay phones anymore, that's what they used to do. He'll call you from some other, like maybe a work number, like maybe his job or something. So you have some women that'll go to these clubs. They get high, or they get a little bit tipsy, and their inhibitions, their guard is down and lowered, and so they're lowered, their personality. So they may not even be thinking about this the way the guy is looking at it, but these guys are looking at her like, oh, she's easy. We can take her to a hotel or a motel. Not even that. We won't even spend money on a hotel or a motel. We'll just take her out to the back of the club, in the back seat of the car. So your life will get better when you realize it's better to be alone than to chase people who don't really care about you. And this is true. And a lot of times there's some women, this is not all, but there are some women that they'll put bad males before their children. They'll chase men that aren't really worth chasing. And the thing is that, first of all, you shouldn't have to chase someone. If they're not chasing you and wanting to really be in a relationship with you and be serious, then they're not worth even dealing with. And if they're having like multiple sex partners, and they have like a promiscuous lifestyle, or a questionable lifestyle, they have a wife somewhere, a girlfriend they've been with, kids somewhere you don't know about, or maybe you do know, it's a dangerous situation altogether. And there's a lot of women who are desperate for a relationship or to be with someone, so they'll put themselves out there in these vulnerable situations. And clubs are like a haven for, hounds. And so you'll get attention, but it's not for the right reasons. Some women go with the intent that they'll find the love of their life, the mate of their life, or they'll find a relationship. Sometimes there's exceptions. Some people get lucky. but that's not always the case. It's sort of like a smaller percentage of people that maybe find some kind of compatibility with someone, because nowadays, you have the online dating, and that's, very scary, because you don't know who you're dealing with. You don't really know what they look like. Then when you meet them, they look totally different than what you thought. So women will do some crazy stuff just to have attention, um, to get attention from a man. And you have, like, a lot of these women, they'll get mad at women who talk about feminism and being single and being strong, because they're in fear. They don't want to be lonely, and they are lonely. So they don't want to be lonely, and they're insecure about who they are. So they need some validation. They need somebody by their side, even if he's a scallywag. So that's pretty much how it goes in the dating world.